Bye, Twitch.
Moo.
Ooh.
Twitch. Okay, so Twitch
Ooh.
is on board. Everybody
Woohoo.
say hi, Twitch.
Hi, Twitch.
Steam is on board. We're not streaming to YouTube right now. Oh, there's the quest modal. Very interesting. We'll turn down the cows real quick. Yeah. Okay. As much as I love the cows to interrupt, I feel like I'm already mooing enough for any animal. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this party started. Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming. Today we're going to be talking about the latest release, which we call the Party Won't Stop release, but you might know better as R37. And we also had a point release yesterday, R37.1, which is most of you probably downloaded today. Okay, so let's go ahead and introduce ourselves real quick. Who from the lab is here? Let's start with Alex.
Hello, I'm Alex.
Hey, DJ.
All right, Alex, what do you do here? Let me go ahead and
Oh, sorry. I'm a product manager.
A product manager. Okay, all right, big deal. Big deal in the house. I'm Galileo. I'm the community manager, among other things. Now,
Lacey, marketing coordinator, and Sansar support team lead.
Bina. Oops. Were you not done?
No. I'm all good.
Okay. Bina, UI engineer.
and we have Bina, the UI engineer. Okay, so I think that's all we have right now. Some people.
Oh.
Whoa. After I begged you to come, I didn't want you to introduce yourself. All right, Stretch, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Stretch. I'm on the engineering team.
Okay.
I'm Sansar.
All right. That's the whole kit and caboodle that we have here today. So let's go ahead.
Isn't
there's
Zorba right behind?
I can't see my avatar is too big. Okay, I'm trying to figure out. Is Zorba here?
Hey,
He's here.
Zorba.
can you guys hear me?
Oh, there you are. Hey, Zorba.
Yep.
Somebody didn't deck out their avatar.
Might want to broadcast
I
him.
am doing that. Yeah. Met you if you want.
Shiloh the Super Gecko. So many good avatars.
There we go, Zorba.
Harmonix is awesome.
Cool. So I'm on the engineering team. I've worked on some of the questing stuff. So if you have questions, I can help answer some of those, and that's about it.
Excellent. Okay, so today, just a reminder for all the folks that haven't been to a product meetup before, which we have at least one, welcome Pixel. We are going to be going over the latest release, the point release, and then we'll be gathering some questions and listening to your feedback after that. So just as a reminder, keep all questions and feedback in the chat so we can easily keep track of that. Of course, if you need to follow up with something via voice, we'll ask you to do that, or feel free to go ahead and do that. We just don't want to get off on a tangent. So those are basically the rules of the product meetup, and if you don't follow them, we'll just not. I don't know. Everything will be okay. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started. So I think Alex wanted to cover the events, world, and codex features from the newest release. Why don't we go ahead and do that?
Did I? I can.
Okay.
I
believe
can
you
we
asked.
address the signs first?
Okay, let's go ahead and do it. Let's address these signs.
I'm seeing more and more of these week by week.
Well, then let's fix that.
Yes. No. We're going to.
So the signs for the uninitiated are asking for individual volume controllers for users, because some users are loud, some users are, I don't know if annoying is the right word. Some people might annoy you, so you don't want to hear them as loudly if you're trying to have a conversation.
So it's not just mute. We want to be able to click on somebody and then say have a slider pop up or something, and you just drag them down so that they're not as loud. Is that
not drag them down emotionally, just as a slider thing?
That can be abused, right?
Can it?
I mean, somebody wants to troll and be like, "I'm not going to let you speak," and
I believe it would be. I don't
No,
believe
per user.
It's for you.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like muting. It's just an extension to the muting feature. Is that? Am I reading that correctly? So instead of just a solid mute, you have a slider that can pull you down to mute, or not.
yeah, just
Or
making
the
sure
opposite.
everybody understands that that's going to be the case.
Yep, we won't.
Can I hear from the sign people? Is that correct? Am I correct?
But also to
Some
so, like,
people
louder
yell
people
into their
sometimes.
mics.
Yeah, some people are quiet when we're talking, and some people are really loud, and then that way we can manually make them about even.
Where would you want that control to be? Would you want it to be like in the people tool window or on like the profile, maybe in both places on like, it's hard to do it with this current like VR panel, but where would you guys want to see that control?
I was thinking maybe in the profile
Where would
would
you
look
want
cleaner,
that
cleanest there.
Is it something that should persist? Is it something that should persist scene to scene? Is it something that should persist scene to scene? Like this person is always 20%? It might be confusing. Like you did it to them like 2 weeks ago. They come back like, I can't hear you. You're super low now.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the edgier case than
And just
person
like
coming back and being loud every time, and you have to reset them every time.
Yeah.
And
feel like
sometimes
persistent
you
will be good.
come in, your mic is loud. Sometimes you come in, your mic is not so loud. So
You mean yours personally?
I've had issues like that, and
Yeah.
sometimes people change mics all the time. So
Yeah, different hardware.
Right. Well,
Yeah, I did post a picture nearby how another platform does it.
let me see here.
Still a
The
Linden
other
Lab
place?
product, so. The other place, yeah.
Place that shall not be named.
Yes.
Okay.
Where did you put that?
I thought it was called the Motherland.
In the nearby, yeah.
I'm in VR, so let's follow up with that afterwards, Zays.
Oh, I see it. I got it. I linked it to you.
Okay, cool.
Okay, brilliant. So,
Great.
back to the if you
Sorry,
ever run
hijacked
the,
it.
that's okay. The signs, you gotta respond. All right, so if we want to talk about Events World and the codex changes, we can briefly, and then we'll go over world creation improvements, and then we'll do in-client store improvements, and then we'll talk about script stuff. So that's the sort of agenda today, and then we'll take questions after that.
Don't forget about Pew Pew. I'm showing it off as we speak.
And
Oh, you stole it. But yeah, so I'll just read the notes because that's probably the most clear way to get about it. But events, world, and codex changes. Now, when you're creating a new event, you can no longer link the event to a scene, but instead a built world. This will then create a new copy of that published world. So when an event attendee attends the event, the original world is automatically added to the codex, not the event version. And that way they can come back to the world at any time after the event. You can also, this kind of goes into the world improvements we'll get into later, but you can link directly to a specific spawn point that you've added into your world with both through script and through the URI or the URL that you send someone. So if you want to send them to a specific spot in your world, you can not only send them the URL, but then actually add the spawn point name to the end of that URL, and they'll go right where you want them to, which is pretty handy. So that seems like a pretty good segue into world creation improvements. The first one there we were just talking about, which is spawn points. So you've got that new component where you can add more spawn points to your world, and you can access those spawn points via script or through those URLs. And you can also set each spawn point to be a default spawn point or only accessible through scripts. So if you don't want people to just default spawn at the top of your mountain, but have that be some sort of like scriptable unlock power to get up there, then you can do that.
Yeah, the big use case for that was like if you have multiple scenes and you're traveling between scenes, like you have a doorway on this scene going to a world, you can go through the door via trigger volume, and then when you come back through another trigger volume, you can spawn, switched around coming out of the door. It's one of the nice use cases for it. So.
If you ever got into the social hub, or sorry, the socialite guild, and then come back to the Nexus and wondered, why am I in the middle of the
We're
Nexus?
fixing that shortly now that the script API is on. So
that's gonna allow us to fix that.
And the simple scripts have been updated to have an optional spawn point name parameter in the teleport script. So.
And then another new component is the camera. And I've already seen some people do some interesting things with this, where you can add a camera component to an object, which can be then activated and controlled using scripts. And you can, for example, I think I saw someone added a camera to a holdable object, then held the object, and then set another user's view to that camera. So they were basically getting a view of someone else's handheld camera. Now that's probably
awesome.
a little crazy, but you can do it for other things too. Like, you've got security cameras, or you've got some preset camera locations for your concert, and you can set it up so people can toggle between those different camera views with some sort of menu system. Those types of things are now possible. Anything else I missed there on that camera stuff, Stretch?
No, I mean, it's really cool. You can just tie it, it's a component. So if you want to put it on a dynamic rigid body and have it roll around the scene, you're going to sicken everybody in VR, but you can, that's the beauty of having it just kind of a new component in the system. You can just add it to anything else that you can do with components. So you can drive it from script and have it rigid bodies and all this other stuff. So
Another nice to have that I've been waiting for a long time is a new snap to grid feature in Edit World. It's hidden in the scene settings and you have to toggle it on and off, but you can set different grid snap distances. So if you're moving boxes around and don't want to type in numbers like I don't want to, then you can turn that setting on and just snap to grid. There's also now a texture memory counter in the diagnostics, so you can see how much texture memory each object that you have selected is taking up, which should help you diagnose some of the heavy hitters in your scene and help optimize things. And finally, the color picker is actually movable, so it's no longer just like locked to wherever it started. You can move it out of your way and look at the thing that you're changing the color of. And on that side, you can also import JPEG textures now, and we've removed the dimension limitations on that. Besides that, I think that's really kind of all the Edit World stuff, unless, Bina, you want to touch on the scene script references?
I believe Maria asked for a clarification.
Oh, sorry, I missed that.
Just like, what does it mean? Like, that we can do any shape also?
Can someone
like,
say out loud what
square?
the question was? I didn't see it.
Oh, she's talking out loud. Can you hear her?
I cannot.
Oh boy, Bagnaria, you got blocked.
Did I block you?
Oh,
Where are you?
She's under the light near the banana, which is something I never thought I'd say.
You're not muted, you're not blocked, I just can't hear you.
Bag, go ahead and write your question, and then we'll keep an eye on chat. And then we'll move on to the next thing.
I'll send you some bubbles as an apology.
Yeah, I think I could just add on there, as Alex was saying, now there's a space on scene settings where you can enter up to 6 scene scripts, and they will maintain your references. So if you need to change those scripts or update them, you don't have to go through each object. You can just put it in the scene scripts, and when you update it, those scripts will automatically be updated everywhere.
Excellent. Okay, so we've gone through the world creation improvements, the new APIs. What else do we have left? Let's do material.
there was a new, I don't know if this is something, there's a new API yesterday in the Point One release for a feature we're coming up soon, which is you can teleport to a dressing room now from your scene. That was released in the Point One release yesterday for scripts. There's new APIs, so you can add, like, if you have a store experience, you can add a portal that'll take people directly to the dressing room, so they don't have to open their UI, or if it's, because new users we found, I'm gonna say finding the dressing room. So it's just a way to make it kind of a more seamless experience where you can kind of walk into a dressing room door. You go to the character editor and you come back. You can be at that doorway. So
well, that's kind of neat. So stores are going to be much more interactive. Okay. We have some scene script stuff and some new script APIs. I think we already talked about those. Do you want to talk about those, Bina?
Yeah, so on top of the scene scripts that you can add for updating, we also have new error modes. So you can have quiet or verbose erroring, or you can just ignore your errors. The camera API, which Alex just talked about, also the ability to teleport to named spawn points is also scriptable. And then opening a user store, which I think we demoed last time we were here. I think that's it.
Okay, so that's all the script stuff. What else are we missing? We got Pew Pew. Did we talk about Pew Pew? I think we did.
Yeah, I was trying to show it off, but Stretch keeps cramping me.
Wow.
So we got this awesome new feature where I'm on desktop right now, but as you can see, I'm able to kind of point this bubble blaster, whatever you want to call it, wherever I want. And this works in both desktop mode, where I'm just moving my mouse cursor around my screen, and my mouse cursor
follows.
Yeah, my head does actually follow. And it also works in mouse look mode. I've just swapped to mouse look mode too. And this works in first and third person for both modes, so that you can have some authority over where you're aiming, which you actually did in the past, but other people can see where you're aiming. Let's put it that way.
That'll make Ultimate Disc a little harder because people can see what you're trying to do.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, it's a mode, so you have to turn it on. In the edit world now, as part of the grab point, there's an aim boolean that you can set, and that will enable it. Otherwise, by default, you get the old behavior. So it is a yeah.
Okay.
So feel free to try that out.
Super simple.
Was the pew pew script updated on the examples?
Well, you don't have to do anything except set the grab points.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just there's a boolean on the grab point now. So that's it.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, and then we had some materials update. Did we talk about those at all?
Yeah, we did.
Great. Sorry, I'm doing a bunch of things at once. Okay, so I think that's all of. Oh, do we want to talk about avatars at all? Is anybody here that can speak to those?
I mean, there's no new features in the avatar realm, I don't think.
Just the LODs.
The LODs, but that's not like an avatar feature. It's like more of an engine feature.
Oh, sorry.
But basically, there's now LODs, level of details on avatars, and there's certain limits on each avatar, how much memory it can use per user in the scene. So if we get a bunch of people in the scene and people are using too much memory, we'll start to downsample things on avatars so that they stay underneath the limit, so that we can maintain performance with more people in the scene. So we'll want to actually hear back from you guys. If it looks good to you, let us know. If you're starting to notice it might look a little funny in some situations, we want to hear that feedback too. But just be aware that that is now happening.
Can the initial distance when it starts downgrading be pulled back? Because even just taking a product picture of an avatar, you can't get the full body of the avatar before it starts degrading.
I see.
So, I mean, I would think we could at least get that, you know?
Yeah, or perhaps an option to just turn it off, client side.
Well, you don't want to turn it off, but like maybe like your avatar, for instance, or something like that. But
Yeah,
there's
Well,
something kind of distance, but
I think that in both Second Life and here, it's that first drop down is way too soon. To the point where in Second Life, in my tutorial on how to do LODs, I tell everyone to put the main avatar in the second slot too, because it happens too soon. And I would love to not tell people to do that, but in my opinion, it happens way too soon.
Okay, good to know.
Galileo, there is a couple of Quest UI updates also that went out. You can now, as Ashk Ray said in the chat, you can now abandon a quest. So if you have a quest that's hanging around your Quest app, you can go to the Info tab, and there's an Abandon Quest button to get rid of it. And there's also just some new styling and, unfortunately, a small bug, which I think everyone saw entering here. But there's some new styling on all the Quest modals.
Great. Okay. So I think that's all we had in the release. Zorba, did you want to say anything about Quest coming up?
Not a whole lot at this point.
Okay. Then all right, great. Okay, so I think that's about it. There's a couple of other things that I wanted to cover real quick before we get to the question and answer bit. We are going to start testing a pilot program, and I'll be able to tell you more about this in a little bit, although I think I've talked to some of you individually about it. A pilot program for events hosting. So we've got some big plans in the future for some other types of programs, but we want to try this one out first, sort of modularly, where we're going to be providing or coming up with a system for incentives for users that host events and hit certain milestones in those events. So I'll be this Quest modal. I'll be giving more information on that soon once we get it all sketched out. But the idea is we're trying to provide you all with some incentive to start hosting more events. As you might remember, our new pivot is around events, so we want to make sure that we're hosting as many as we can. And the best, whatever we can do to support you and make that fruitful for you is going to be in our best interest. So if you have any ideas of what would be interesting to you, I think I've asked about this before, any ideas of what would be interesting to you in terms of incentives for holding events, let me know. In DMs, or if you have any ideas. And of course, I'll be recruiting for that pilot program at some point, at least in the next month. And I think that's going to be open to everybody. So just keep your eyes out for it. And I'll make sure to announce it by annoyingly pinging you all in Discord anyway. And of course, we'll have it up on the forum just in case we have people that don't hang out in Discord, that kind of thing. Also, reminder that we have a new contests channel in Discord. All of you are welcome to use that and to host your own contest. If you have any questions about contests, you can feel free to ask me about what that might entail. But obviously, we want to see people doing more and interacting more and collaborating more. And so, contest is sort of that's the goal for that channel. All right, I think we are ready for the questions and answers and feedback section. So. Remember to put those questions in chat. We'll get to them as soon as we can. We've got a little bit of a skeleton crew today, although I think we're doing a pretty good job. So if we don't get your question the first time around, feel free to repost it. Okay, the first question is, are there coming simple scripts for cameras? Majeka asks.
I'm not positive that there will be, but we have been sourcing more community open source on the scripting front, and we do have an open source repo, and one of our users, Bagnaria, you probably know, she contributed a sample camera script, and I can go ahead and link the link here. So all you need to do is import it to use it, but if you're also interested in extending it, it's a good starting point.
Great timing. Okay, the next question is, Luav asks, although I think this was answered in chat, but just in case anybody can't read the chat, Luav says, why have I been forced to take the Hello Kitty quest with no option in VR to clear it from blocking my view?
There should have been a maybe later option.
It keeps popping up, even if you say maybe later. Yeah.
I'll have to talk to Spooky Man about that. Something about the script setup is plaguing you with that invite.
I like when you say maybe later. It's like maybe later means in 2 minutes. Let's
or just accept it then. Just accept it and then it'll go away for now.
Yeah, there was no maybe later. It was just in the way. I couldn't switch it off.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Okay, thanks for that.
That's in VR mind.
Yep.
Okay.
Noted.
All right, Garth, I don't know how to say your name, so I'm just going to call you Garth. Did FBX animation frame limits change? Garth, when was the change that you're referring to? And is it in the past month, past week?
Can you hear me? I have a balloon that goes up 3,000 meters, and it's on a max out of range type. Works fine. I have an elevator that goes up on an out of range type on a 60-floor building. But now, if I try to do the same thing by bringing in an out of range type FBX animation, it doesn't go anywhere.
Okay. I'm not sure if anything's changed, but can you get that asset, if you don't mind sharing that asset with us? We can take a look at it to see what's going on there. I think that's the best thing, is just for us to get the asset, Galileo. If you can facilitate that would be great.
Sure.
Because I don't know of anything that's changed. There's always kind of minor fixes and stuff going in, so it may be something there had a side effect. But we'll have to take a look at it.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries.
I was
Galileo,
really excited about that. Yeah.
Yeah, you can just get that asset to Galileo, and he'll forward it on to me, and we'll deal with it. I think that's the best way to do it.
Awesome.
Okay. Let's see. I have a light disc object designed as a weapon/gun, but I keep losing it all the time when running around with it grabbed, even though I have the keep on hand option enabled. Is there a limit on what object mesh shapes can be held, or how the grab points are positioned?
Are you by any chance running into anything?
Yeah, there is a limit to like a force limit. So if your object is really heavy and you're hitting something, or if you're like center of mass of the object, like we've had issues where like if you if you imported the object and like it has like this huge offset from the center of the object, if that makes sense. Like if the center of mass of the shape is really far off, then you get weird stuff. But it's really, there's like a force so that if you like hit it into a wall, it comes undone, and that's probably what you're hitting here. It keeps falling out of your hand, so it's really about trying to get back from that to see where the problem is. But there isn't any kind of limitation on shape other than if you're holding it and it's running into stuff, it might fall out of your hand because it's breaking.
I'm not hitting anything, but it happens when I turn like 180 degrees. When I turn quickly. I have to be very quick, very careful not to turn too fast.
Okay. Well,
I've
is there a scene that we can visit where this is a problem?
Yeah, it's on the grid Prime Millennium.
Okay.
Oh, okay. That's easy to find.
Let's go check that out, and we'll see if we can
It's only
resolve
one
that.
of the disk, number one disk, the disk most to the left.
Yeah, I'd say check those two things, which is check the density and try lowering the density, and the second one is checking the make sure the center of mass is proper, because we've had issues with those two things before. I'm sure they're fine, but it's just things to sanity check. We can go check out the scene.
Yeah, because I've been playing with guns in point of no return, and they tend to keep on the hand. They never drop off, but the disc drops off very easy.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Question.
Might have a very big collision on there.
Yeah, I think I said we should just check it out. It could have a very big collision. It could have a weird center of mass, or the density could be really high. Those are the things I would check first. That's a good one. Thank you.
Maybe it's because I was designing it. It has a hole, of course, in it because it's a disk. Maybe I did the hole also in the collision and didn't think about it. Maybe that's causing a problem.
So the collision, if it's a dynamic object, if it's a mesh, you import it as a mesh, it will be converted into a convex hull. If you wanted to have the hole in it, we're actually messing with this with some assets internally. You can add like boxes to make a ring, and then it'll make 8 convex hulls or whatever, or 6 convex hulls.
I should correct that and try again because it doesn't need the hole. It should just be a circle collision physics.
I see. Okay. Yeah, those are the things to check. So.
Is that performant though to use like 10 collisions to form a shape?
It's more performant than having it be a mesh, for sure. It's
really okay.
Yeah, like basically you got to think about primitives. So with a mesh, if it was a mesh, right, to make a disk, you'd need how many triangles? Probably, I don't know, 50 triangles. Whereas this, it's like 8 primitives. So you're going to get, it's more expensive. It's, probably like 8 times as expensive as a single primitive, but it's much cheaper than a mesh that has like 50 primitives. It's a kind of a special use case. So it's like, it's already pretty cheap to do those types of collisions. So, if you have 1,000 of them, sure, now the costs are starting to add up. But if it's just like, there's a couple rings, you're fine. But we've definitely, when we had the mesh collision, it was plenty of bad performance from that. But this should be fine.
Okay, great. Next. Events feedback. Have in-world board in the nexus of upcoming and current events. Yeah, that's great feedback. We've actually talked about that, and I think that maybe somebody can speak to that. Have we ever made any moves in that, or is that something we've just heard so far?
I mean, it's coming up. Like we're doing some work on the Nexus around events. More prominent portals, event board, things like that are definitely the ideas that we're putting into the Nexus. I don't know exactly how much I can speak to that, but definitely there's some work happening on the Nexus.
Great. Okay. Yeah, I think that's going to look more like a Times Square than before, and I think that's probably a good thing. Whatever we can do to help support showcasing your worlds and the events that you're running, those are all things that we're working on right now.
I said there's going to be more portals, and we're going to try and feature community worlds and things like that, I think.
That's right. So right now we have a group of small portals near the spawning point, which features some community worlds, but we're going to be making those much more obvious, and we're going to be featuring many more worlds as far as I understand. Stretch, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. I hit the ceiling. I just punched the
He's that
ceiling.
tall.
Hey, Stretch is very
I'm
tall.
this tall in real life too, so.
Next, when is the persistence update landing?
I can't speak to a specific date, but we're still working towards.
Didn't it go out yesterday?
Did it?
Actually,
The V1 of that?
I don't think it did.
I'll double check.
Okay, we'll double check. It's very soon.
Soon.
If we thought
Soon.
it was it's imminent. So hopefully
Imminent.
very,
Persistent storage API. Yep.
It is. It went out?
Okay, sweet. I thought we were
Told
waiting
you.
on another point release.
Yeah. Do you want to discuss it real quick? What does it mean?
So there's a new API, which kind of, we've had an API for doing HTTP queries for a while. This new one, it kind of is a wrap around that to hit our own storage thing. So you can kind of do key value persistence across experiences. So I think the V1 went out. I'm not 100% on the details, but
I'd call it a pre-release since there's no documentation yet.
yeah, exactly. Pre-release. If you want to find it and look at the API documentation, there's probably some API documentation for it. The AutoGen API documentation. It's there. We're going to be expanding on it. So but if you want to try it and you're a coder, go for it. And we're gonna make that better over time. So.
Great. So for folks that didn't follow that, I'm one of them. I don't mind admitting it. Who didn't understand sort of the technical aspect of what you just said. What are some practical use cases in layman's terms for what you can do with a persistent storage API?
I guess I can answer some if that helps.
Yeah, go.
So think of it like this: you enter an experience, you enter a scene, and you had some state, and you left the scene. And now, when you enter it again, if you persisted some information about you, and if the creator has hooked it up, then you can basically resume from that state. I don't know if that was too technical.
It's like a high score list, right? So if you could keep track of how far people got on your game and keep points, right?
Checkpoint. Think of it. Like
That's the point. Yeah, so you can keep a persistent high score table. So it's like, and then display that in some way, or you could keep somebody's level, maybe like they're a level 2 wizard.
It's a key value pair,
Key
right?
value
So
pair.
you can store whatever info you want to, however you want to slice
It would
it.
be good for us to get a simple script.
Togindipple.
Yeah, go find Gindipple. Where is Gindipple?
We definitely need documentation and some examples.
Documentation, simple script, example script.
I'll help out as much as I can on that front with scripting office hours, but it requires more than just me.
Gindipple is somewhere out in the world in his personal Argo, exploring new lands. But we can get him back here. I think with persistent storage, let's see if he'll come back. We miss you, Gindipple, anyways. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. All right, next. Current.
Persistence always wins.
Persistence always wins.
Ha!
Nice. Next, I think this is Bagnaria. Currently, events, for example, the weekly Monster Kit events, are mostly attended by regulars and staff. Can you share what strategies you may have to reach outside of the Sansar community? I can handle this one. So the idea is right now, it's a long-term approach. So right now, I believe that you're seeing a lot of regulars and staff attend events, which is good because we want to retain people and make sure that we're doing fun things for people that are already here. So the ideas about getting new people in we are hoping that the awareness of Sansar and the things that you can accomplish within Sansar as a normal user or as a corporation are being amplified by these partnerships. So, for example, Monster Cat was able to get us their event streamed on Twitch and Mixer yesterday on the front pages, which is a huge awareness boost. Now, people heard about Sansar, and so maybe they'll come and try it. And so that's the general strategy. Oh, we've heard about this thing. We're going to go ahead and try it. So that's for a general user. But also, what we hope to gain. Stretch, can you close your mic?
Oh, sorry.
Also, what we hope to gain from this, and I think this is fairly obvious, and it'll take a while to bear fruit. So I don't think if you're looking for, a bunch of people to join the day after an event, it's maybe not something you're going to see immediately. But one of the other strategies we are trying with corporate partners, for example, is to not only work with corporate partners to create things like the Sanrio world, but also that they'll share that information and also help increase awareness. Also, what we're trying to do is every big event that we have, we take videos of it. We get a lot of photos. We have people produce videos of it. We create sizzle reels, and usually, and I don't even know if I'm supposed to be delving this deeply in on this, but I don't mind because I think you see it anyway. What we'll do with this content is we'll share it with corporate partners. So, for example, we'll go out to big label X and we'll say, here's a few videos of a really cool virtual concert that was held in Sansar. So here are the technical capabilities. Here's what you can do from an abstract standpoint. For example, we often say, you can have a world tour in one night, which is really exciting for a lot of people. And the cost for running an event in Sansar is incredibly cheaper than running an actual world tour, as you might imagine. So all those things are very attractive to some of the corporate partners we're going after. And so hopefully the next step of that sort of strategy is obvious. The more people that we bring in to do big events, they'll bring in their audiences, and hopefully folks from their audiences will download and play Sansar and stick around. And this dovetails quite nicely into sort of the push that I've been making on our side. I think we've said for a long time that the users are one of the most important parts of Sansar. The stuff that you create, the events that you hold, the community itself, the way you interact with each other, those are all super important for keeping people around. Because it's one thing if you tell somebody, hey, come to Disneyland, it's full of all these awesome rides, but if you go to Disneyland and there's nobody there, actually for some people I bet that would be pretty exciting, but what we're trying to do is create a more community-driven platform, which I think has been fairly obvious. So anyways, that is the sort of high-level strategy and of the tactics and whatnot. I'm sure you will see because you are all taking part in them as well, and that's the goal. Now, will it work? The answer is we hope so. And if it doesn't, we'll try something else. So that is the best answer I can give to that right now. Okay, question 2. Can we please get a slider to change the UI size for those of us with bigger monitors, 45 inches 4K, and it would help us read stuff in VR? Fixes 2 things with 1 fix, please.
Go for it.
No, you go ahead. You probably have a better answer.
My only answer was I don't have a specific time frame for when that should happen, but it should happen.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's been brought up several times internally. We know it's an issue. We know we have to address it.
You guys just need to make a sign for it.
I'm on that.
Perfect.
Can we... Wait, what's the next one? Currently, the animation emote importer requires a reference frame set to 0, or a reference frame set to 0 to import the animation. But the same reference frame is bleeding into the loop. Is there a fix coming for this? I think that's Matthew.
I'm surprised. I've muted.
Stretch is mute.
No, you're just quiet.
I'm just quiet. Did I lose the microphone?
No, you got mic. You were just whispering.
No, I'm not muted, right? You guys can hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Can you hear us?
Am I coming through my own thing?
Yes.
I think I'm not mic'd. I think I'm not megaphone.
Megad.
How about this?
You are
Better?
definitely megaphones. I don't know if you
Can
hear
people
us.
hear me now?
Can somebody reach over and see if...
Yeah, I'm going to go tap him.
Stretch is...
I understand.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Zay sits behind me. All right. Yeah, I don't know about that one. I'm surprised.
His, voice. Let me go to lookbook and come back.
How about now?
I can hear Stretch perfectly. Is anybody else having trouble hearing Stretch?
I switched from VR to non-VR. I wonder if something happened.
I can hear you.
Yeah, you're good, Stretch.
All right. Well, okay. Great. It's a great mystery. Yeah, I'm surprised on that one because we import all of our emotes from FBXs.
So.
They're saying it only happens with Blender files.
Oh, well, that'd be a problem. All right, can you send us through an example? I'll get QA to test it and we'll get that fixed.
Okay, sure.
Great, thank you. Again, let's coordinate through Galileo on all these files that I asked for. That way he has work to do. It's called.
If you guys can figure out these problems on your own, that'd be great for me too.
We just need to get the files, and then we'll follow up. So.
Okay, yeah, we'll do that. Somebody asks, I didn't write down who asked these. I think Evo App asked this. Is anyone maintaining the script library? Who should we ping on Discord for bugs and feature requests? Yeah.
For bugs and feature requests, you can either ping Dolphin or myself on Discord if you're looking for some advice or some actual someone who knows what they're talking about in the script realm to help you with scripts. Then Dolphin's your go-to. If you're just looking to report some bug and want that to get moved up the chain, then you can also ping me too.
I'm also pretty active.
And Bina, of course. Sorry.
Okay. Next we have. Nope. What are the limits of persistence, storage size, etc., or when can we get that info? I believe we sort of answered this earlier. We need to write some documentation on that, which will give you all of the specs. When is that documentation going to be written? I think soon is the answer.
I'll do what I can to get some stuff for scripting office hours next week.
Great. So that's also a great plug for scripting office hours next week. When is that going to happen, Bina?
It's every other Friday at 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. So next Friday, not tomorrow. I'll post the event today.
Some interesting feedback I got is that people like scripting office hours better than the product meetup. So if that encourages you to go to that, if you like this, then you'll like that better.
Thank you.
That'll hurt my feelings, though. I don't want to sit here and cry about it, but B and I might have to come learn.
They love you. I hear that all the time.
Okay. I mean, I'm crying right now. I just want you to know. Okay. Will we be able to access or see any experience on the grid again? When are we going to be able to access all the worlds?
When is a good question, but we are moving in the direction of, if you remember what the Atlas was, more like that.
Does anybody remember the Atlas?
Basically, everything that's available in Sansar immediately at your fingertips through what is now the Codex, rather than requiring you to go to the Prime portal and the Nexus to find new stuff.
All right, so I think that everybody's been asking for that, so there's your answer. It's coming back.
Well, I'll just say that it's much more of an incentive to do like YouTube videos and other things like that when we know that those people can find us.
Yeah, for sure. That's part of the puzzle. But basically, anything that you could access through the Prime portal now will just be natively available through your Codex in the very near future.
Most excellent. Okay, that is very awesome to hear.
I say hallelujah to that.
I'm also happy about that. Okay, next. I think I skipped this. Sorry about that. Will we have a clear cache option in Sansar as opposed to having to go into it manually, etc.? I believe the answer is yes, but I'll let somebody else speak to that.
We don't have anything immediately on the roadmap to tackle that. I know it's a very manual process to clear your cache at the moment. So I can't really give you a good answer on that.
So we are experimenting with having the installer, when we do these kind of updates like we did with the texture stuff, we're experimenting with having the installer clear cache in those cases. So that hopefully, like ideally, you shouldn't have to think about your cache.
Exactly.
I mean, that would be it shouldn't be something that users are thinking about. So we need to make it that the thing. I know that you need to clear the disk space, because a lot of times it's on your C drive, and your C drive might be a smaller SSD. But in general, I think that we need to get to it not being an issue, and maybe that's allowing you to pick where your cache goes. You can put it on your disk drive instead of your SSD and stuff like that. But limiting cache size is another option, Misa. So yeah, but I don't know if we're gonna add something in the short term or not. It's something we can think about, like something in the settings that's just like clear cache, so you can free up space.
Or maybe an option to save specific worlds. So you'll cache these, but maybe not all
Maybe
these
not
other
others.
ones.
Yeah,
You're
that's
just
a really
going
good idea.
exploring. Don't cache the explored worlds, but cache
Favorite it
Scurry
or something.
Waters because that seems awesome.
Yeah, we go there all the time. So
Exactly.
Or
Makes
maybe
sense.
somehow to set up deleting old cache. Like if it's someplace you visited a month ago, it would like automatically delete.
Yeah. Yeah, right now it does have a cap, but it's like 10 gigs, and it will eject the oldest kind of thing, like pretty standard cache behavior. So, oldest not touched, I guess. Okay.
All right, thank you. Sorry about skipping that. Morgaine. Cerberus asks, will we be able to link the avatar to keyframed or dynamic objects?
It's on my agenda. So basically, like, there's a few things I'm working on. I mean, in general, I want to get to something we're calling jointing, which is just you can arbitrarily joint two things together, whether they be animated or avatars or whatever. You can just stick two things together. So you could put an avatar on put something on the avatar's arm and then stick that avatar onto a roller coaster. Or put a camera onto the avatar's head and then stick them on a roller coaster. That's what we want to get to. I'm not sure where it falls in the new roadmap for things, but
with a new IK, as Serb and I were talking, I was in edit mode and I had a gun sitting there with a grab point on it with IK, and I just thought, well, why don't I just make this static on the desk? And I was hoping I would log in and click on it, and my arm would go and stick to the desk.
doesn't work that way.
I understand, but
it would be good.
It would be an awesome
feature. It's super tricky. Yeah, like we've talked about this, especially in the context of something like a lever, right? You have like a lever in your scene, and you pull the lever to open the door. What you really want, oftentimes, you want the lever to drive your arm, and not your arm to drive the lever, if that makes sense in like a game context, because it's kind of hard to make the. You could have something like a constraint, but if it's like an animated lever, you'd want the lever to drive the arm, and there's where like something like this would kick in. So it would be cool. It's something to think about for us. One of the things I would like to get to soon. I'm not sure we're still working out like the new roadmap. I mean, things that we're working on. I don't know if we want to talk about what's next, but animations.
Spill the beans.
I mean, one of the things I'd like to really work on is animations attached to objects that drive the character. So if you pick up a baseball bat, the baseball bat knows how to swing itself, how a character can swing it. Now we have this retargeting stuff. It should be a lot easier. So you pick up a baseball bat, and then it has some simple actions associated with it, so you can swing it. And it's not exactly that same thing, but I think it's kind of getting to what we want in that sense.
Yeah, and animating like one arm or upper body.
Exactly.
Or
I mean the upper half of your body or a full body. So you have like a baseball swing that's like left to right. So you're swinging the baseball bat. That is upper body only. But you have like a power swing where you like jump and swing down. That's like a full body animation. So you want those kind of controls. You want to be able to tie it to either a button press or a mouse click, right click, left click, those kind of things to make, if you're going to make game experiences, that's the kind of stuff you need. So in the short term, what I'm working on, and what I'm working on is twofold. Like one is, I think Zayas mentioned it last time, which is spawning stuff in world from inventory. There's a couple parts to that. So you should be seeing something along those lines shortly. Being able to spawn stuff from inventory from your in-world. And then we're doing an emote refresh, basically, to make it so it's really easy to buy an emote and equip it while you're still in the world, play it immediately, preview things, time to hotkeys. That's what's up after that. So those are the two things at top of mind for me. But the tying animations to stuff is really key for gameplay. I'm just not sure where it fits into like an event strategy. But the animation side to objects is really key to game experiences. But
okay, we've got about 4 minutes left. So let's go ahead and try to answer these next questions as quickly as we can. And if we don't get to them, we'll try to get them answered in Discord or something else. Maybe next time. But probably not next time. That'll be 2 weeks away. Okay. Anyway, follow up on something. Maybe we could have the UI size option along with the clear cache and some others in the special settings option in the client that would be there prior to logging into Sansar. Just a UI thought to keep in world interface and settings looking clean. I think that was Zero Cheese. So I think that's
Thanks for the suggestion.
It's a good suggestion. Okay, next. General Zod asks, yesterday during the CubeFall event, I saw some giant oranges with high mass and very hard to push them in order to make the orange roll. Is that something new in the scripting, or was that custom made for that experience?
So what I believe they might have actually been using linear and or angular drag being affected from dampening, from script, which would basically resist your pushing on that object rather than it affecting the actual bass. That may have been how they did that.
Not 100% sure. It could have been really dense. Just make things really dense. There is a limit to the strength of the avatar, but I'm not 100% sure.
I can actually ask Torley how they did that, and I can find an answer for you, Zod, if you're interested.
There is a linear damping component. It acts more like kind of drag, if you want to think about it that way.
Okay, cool. So I'll see what I can do about that. Next, nope, we already asked that. What about limiting cache size? Misa said, I think we followed up on that. Question from Loki. What is the progress for full Valve index support?
It's funny you asked that. I'm actually literally having a conversation with the engineer who would be doing that work right now. We have an index in flight to him as we speak. As soon as he's got that in hands, he'll be able to actually work on and test the work that he's doing for index support. But up until then, we haven't actually done any work on natively supporting the index. It does work in a roundabout way, but not officially yet.
What about other headsets like the Windows mixed reality headsets?
In terms of official support, you mean?
Yes.
At the moment, no immediate plans to officially support those devices. The main focus is on desktop again for the short term.
Well, we see quite a few of them, and they actually look pretty decent, not like a couple years ago.
Oh yeah, they're coming along for sure, and it's something that we'll have to look into in the very near future. It's just not something we're going to be tackling towards the end of this year.
Okay, lightning rounds. 1 minute left. What do we want to talk about or give people a taste of what's coming in the future?
I said the things that's coming shortly, which is spawn from inventory and then probably some extensions on that as we work towards events to see how it plays out in events.
Version 1 of that is just going to be a collection of toys that we've created that you'll be able to spawn in scenes that allow you to spawn them. And then we want to expand on that so that each scene can basically set up its own list of items that you can spawn in that scene. So you'll be able to have creator control over what people can spawn in your scene.
That'll be super
And
cool.
script APIs to support adding and removing those objects is the plan.
We also have some discoverability changes in the UI coming up.
Ooh, can you elaborate or no?
Yeah, I mean, it's things that people have been asking for that we listen to. I think everyone could probably guess what that means, but I don't know what I'm officially allowed to say and what I'm not. But, basically, you'll be able to discover worlds easier.
Excellent. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what we want. Okay, everybody. We're officially out of time. Thanks again for coming. I know these are happening every 2 weeks now. So in the future, one of the things that'd be super helpful is if you have questions, I'll find a good way for us to. Sorry, DJ. What did you ask? Go ahead, real quick.
Asked about a menu, or when you click on an avatar, a kick button, basically. Sometimes somebody's too busy physically to type in commands and script options or whatever.
We do have a band hammer in the store that's like a physical thing, but the scene owner has to use it. And I
have to
demoed.
physically hit them with it?
Yeah,
that's really hard.
I demoed a script last week that's on our open source repo that you can add to your scene that you can have admins added, so if you're not there. And I think we were talking about ways to extend that with persistent storage. just different creative ways to use scripts to ban people in the interim.
How would we feel about in like the nearby chat or in like I mean, you have block in nearby chat. I mean, I wonder for like administrators and Lindens if we put like some extra controls there.
They
We
have kick in your,
right?
yeah. Yeah. But ban is something that's a manual process per scene, per world.
Okay, I think that's all we got for now. Reminder, send me ideas of incentives that you would like or you think would be beneficial to folks for hosting events. We'll be testing out that pilot program hopefully within the next few weeks, so keep your eyes open. Again, anybody will be available to join that. I think that's it. Also, remember the chili, what do they call it? The chili contest is happening. Which sounds like you're making chili, but it's the chili challenge. That's what it is, not contest. Chili challenge is ongoing for another few weeks here, so go ahead and remember to tag chili challenge, one word, I suppose, in the store items if you're making that, or if your chili challenge is something that is not on the store, perhaps a new world or something, go ahead and just DM me in Discord, and I'll keep track of it. You can submit up to 3 items, and the winner will get Sansar dollars and some other stuff, which I've listed on the contest channel in Discord. If you haven't joined Discord and you want to learn about this, let me know. I also put it up on the forums. And we'll also have another contest coming up soon, so keep your eyes open for that. We're hosting a lot of those, and the contest will be more than just have your product feature. We will start doing some Sansar monetary prizes at least. And if you have any other ideas for what interesting prizes might be beyond money, although we know that money is important, go ahead and let me know. And I think that's it. Did I cover everything? As a reminder, I guess in general, if you have support questions in Discord, you are welcome to ping me. But all of your support questions, I would say, Lacey, you can actually speak better to this. But all of your support should go to the ticket system. So just as a reminder, we won't always be able to help in Discord. Lacey, did you want to talk about that at all?
Yeah, it would be great. Generally, lesser kind of questions that a community might be able to answer, like how do I change the texture? That's totally good for Discord. Larger scale ones like, hey, I can't install this, definitely put in a support ticket for, but also as a heads up, we are very backed up right now, so your response time may vary. So I do appreciate the patience, everyone. It is me. I'm basically handling it all right now, so I will try to get to all those as soon as I can.
And Lacey got a new impressive title, the Head of Support, which works for their avatar right now because she's got a giant head. Okay.
What?
What? The giant Hello Kitty head.
Oh.
Okay.
It's a big head.
That's smooth.
I get it.
All right, everybody. Thanks again for
Be
joining
here all
us.
week.
We are getting back on track with our community meetup schedule. Remember, they're happening on Mondays and Wednesdays now next week. Product meetup's happening every other Thursday. And again, hopefully there'll be more events for you to attend at night. I will also be changing my sort of days soon, so I'll be around later in the evening, so we can host some Sansar events at night. So you should be seeing me around later in the evening if you're in the U.S. That'll be happening soon as well. So, everybody.
Quick thing, I actually didn't get a title of head of support. It's just I'm the one that's leading it right now.
Oh, cool. Okay. So Lacey is the only person doing support, so she is both the head and the tail.
There you go.
There you go. So everybody, that's what's happening here, and then we'll see you around later today. There is a Hello Kitty event that's happening right here in the New World. If you want to come to that, we'd love to see you there. We're going to be taking some selfies, I think is what it is. So around the Hello Kitty world. So hopefully see you there. I'll go ahead and drop the link to the event in the chat so you can
Come dressed cute.
be dressed cute. Okay. Goodbye, everybody. We'll see you around.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye bye.
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 Bye bye.
Bye.